Hi, you're through to Everyday Superpower, a place where we talk about nonverbal communication and, in this case, communication or lack of. If you enjoy what you hear, click like, click subscribe. If there's anything that comes to mind, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. Right, so without further ado, let's get on to it. Today we're going to be talking about the verbal for a change, alright? So we're straying away for a video away from body language, but we're staying within the psychological and communication realms, all right? Today we're going to be talking about speech hesitation, okay? Something which I would like to say the majority of people do, or at least everybody does, dependent on the scenario, okay? So we can call it stuttering, potentially. We could call it pausing to think. We could call it a filled pause. All right, so when people try to fill the gap in between talking, so when I say, you know, and when we talk about a delayed response, okay, so when somebody's deep in thought, all right. So, during a hesitation within someone's speech, person may use filler words such as hums and ahs, okay. People may say like, you know, when it's not necessarily right to be used in that context, and it doesn't necessarily offer any use beside filling that gap, that silence within the speech, all right? So sometimes words may not be uttered, but we'll still talk about speech hesitation as a form of gap within dialogue, which may be awkward, potentially. And in one sentence, we would say that speech hesitation is a sign of nervousness, basically. It lacks the fluidity and potentially removes the clarity of the message that needs to be conveyed. Whilst I'm talking, you're going to hear me do it. Definitely not as much as I used to do my early videos, because I'm getting a little bit better with being able to freeform my speech on the microphone. But, you know, when you initially get started and you are nervous, and when you don't know where to go, or you're speaking about something you haven't had much experience speaking about prior, you know what I mean? It becomes a bit troublesome because you don't know how to speak appropriately, concisely, and so on and so forth. You all know, all right? I don't think it's anything outside of the norm. So when you hesitate in your speech, it may be because you're carefully selecting words. That's what I'm like. I'm quite an introverted character. I come from a background where I didn't speak too much, generally speaking, especially in crowds nowadays. I still aren't the person who pipes up. That's just not me. I don't really have the confidence within that sector to do so. I am an introverted person, so sometimes I will speak a little slower, which also has its benefits, to be fair. Not only through saying the right thing, but also through actually having people listen. You know, it's also a sign of nervousness when people have to speak so fast purely because they are jittery and just all over, alright? So, it's a sign of nervousness as far as speech hesitation goes. It's a showcase of somebody potentially not being able to think straight, which is causing them to lose words and cloud thinking, alright? Somebody doesn't know what they're talking about, they may be pausing to grasp onto, you know, some sort of mental pillar which will give them the direction they need to go, okay? Regarding it being read by others, so if you are speaking to someone who's umming and ahhing all the time, or generally speaking as a societal sort of rule, speech hesitation is subconsciously read by others as a lack of self-confidence, alright? It makes the speaker appear to be lost for words, alright? And it can be correlated to lying if you're, you know, really tripping over yourself and stuttering when you're trying to explain something, okay? Although it's read into more so by the actual speaker, alright? So we speak to so many people and we're so used to picking and choosing what we choose to absorb and getting the message across, you know, translating the message in our own means, that the ums and the ahs, for the most part, you know, given that they are just of a standard number within the conversation, they just sort of go under wraps. They just become white noise to some extent, alright? The brain will subconsciously pick them up, whereas the conscious mind knows that there's no weight to be held within that, you know, gap filler. Alright, as you can hear me, I say you know what I mean? That's my means of filling that gap, okay? As I said earlier, speaking slower to some degree, but still keeping that fluidity will add more weight to what we say as well. It's just an economical principle, okay, as to what is less is more, right? You don't want to oversaturate and devalue what you're saying by adding so much substance that the more important fact of the matter and the words are bogged down by the faff and fluff that surrounds it, okay? Hopefully this has been interesting. If you like what you heard, click like, click subscribe. Feel free to let me know how you think. If you have any ideas and so on and so forth, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.